Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Libra, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of January 2024, not 3, 4. I hope you're well. Happy New Year and all that sort of thing. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is link number 1 in the description box. Link number 2 is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix. That's over on the Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost and hang out with an extraordinary group of people. So if that sounds like it's something that would be of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Third link is to 3-month overviews that I have done for each of the signs. They run from January to March, and I very deliberately cut them in half as opposed to the 6-month overviews that I would usually do, because the astrology of April is interesting, and I think it's necessary to focus a bit of attention on the run up to that to see where we're being positioned and what's going on. There's exponential growth, as we saw last year, in the first few months of the year for everyone. So if that's something that's of interest to you, that's the link number 3 at the bottom. So let's get some cards out for you, Libra. What's going on with Libra, please? 3 cards for Libra. Right, we have the King of Cups in your recent past. Let's flip that around so you can see what's going on. Scorpio energy. What about current energy for Libra, please? Current energy for Libra. Then drifted out there. We've got the Strength card. And what's coming towards Libra, please, for January? Thank you. That one was quite a bit more decisive. We've got the 8 of Cups. Right. Well, something's being left behind for sure. But it's being left behind because we've been in this situation before and we are learning from our mistakes. That's what this is saying here. So let's get some clarifiers out. This is honestly, I'd love a ruler or something, or maybe just a camera that didn't drift around as much as this one does. Anyway, tell me about the King of Cups, please. Right, we've got the High Priestess in reverse and we've got the 2 of Cups. Tell me about the Strength card, please. Thank you. We've got the 3 of Pentacles and we've got the Strength card reversed. And tell me about the 8 of Cups, please. Oh, goodness. I did a proper little pirouette, didn't it? Page of Swords. Oh, 8. The Emperor and the 8 of Cups. This is quite interesting, Libra, because the vibe that I'm getting off this is that this whole period involves the isolation and acknowledgement and working with a long-running situation that you have known is not ideal, and yet it persists. We've got the 7 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck there. Both of these cards speak to there being something that is uncomfortable about the situation that we find ourselves in right now. But I think it's quite interesting that you seem to be wanting to work with the energy to release it. I mean, why else would you work with the energy, honestly? Let's start over here with this King of Cups. This is the recent past here. We've got the King of Cups, which is Scorpio energy, which is emotional stability more often than not. It's the active masculine component of water, which is in and of itself a feminine sign and actually kind of passive. But whenever this card comes out, it talks about getting ourselves on a level with something, right? Emotionally on a level with it. We see that he is here on the edge of this ship, and there's no fear there in his face at all. You know, it's pretty cool standing on the edge of the ship there. There's no fear that this tumultuous sea that we see behind him is going to wash him off the position that he's standing in, right? It's a solid and secure position, even though it's in the midst of something that's, roiling around, and he doesn't actually have any control over. What he has control over is himself and his emotional reactions to things. It's a really strong presentation. And with the 2 of Cups being there, it could be that some of you have made a stand in relationships recently, and you feel like you've really asserted yourself. You've stopped coming at things from maybe a reactionary place, or maybe a people-pleasing place or something like that, and you've actually tried to engage with people as they are rather than as you think they are, or as you would like them to be, or how you would like them to think you are, probably more importantly. But this High Priestess in reverse is a little bit problematic. It's a little bit shaky. Let me get the John Bower out here, because it speaks to there being something closed off and closed down here going on with you when it comes to the reality of the situation with relationships versus what you think it is. Now, you're not the only signs who have got this this message of things not being quite the way that you think they are. Leo's had the same message, and Capricorn, I think, has had the same message. And I don't know why those, well, you three signs should be particularly susceptible to this energy, or have been particularly susceptible to this energy. But it seems to be affecting the three of you particularly. Now, I know Neptune keeps squaring Mars, and maybe there's something about that for you going on in your chart. Tell me about this High Priestess, please. Oof, it's a proper little spin. We've got the Empress, which is Taurus. Oh, Lord, I'm not even going to look at all of those because that's far too many cards. We'll shuffle them back in there, so if they want to come out again, they can. We've got the High Priestess in reverse. Right. We've got the Eight of Wands. Yeah, I think there's somewhere something's got lost in translation, Libra. That's the best way that I can describe this. We've got the Empress card there, which deals with abundance and creativity and joy and all of these very Venusian things. Right? The Empress is your card. It's one of your cards. But there are two sides to Libra, I think. One is the very airy side, which is associated with the Justice card and, you know, fact-finding missions and the balancing of things out. And then we've got the Empress too. And the Empress is that more Venusian side of you. It is the one that is looking for, you know, the way to be smoothed out in front of us, where we can bring harmonious aspects to the relationships that we have. But this Eight of Wands is in reverse, and it's a problem. Because this one in particular speaks to me about there being a storm coming. And we've got this Empress sat here, Libra, being like, everything is cool, everything is nice. I'm sitting on my rock, I'm playing with a bird, and I am completely oblivious to this storm that is coming here. There's something that is blocking your understanding of a situation. And it's not because of any inherent fault in you. It's clear with it being collective energy that this is something that you are supposed to be experiencing. But I would just like to pull another card for this King of Cups, because it puts him in a slightly different position as to where we thought he was 5 minutes ago. Tell me about this. Oh, we've got the King of Swords. It's Aquarius energy. One more card for King of Cups, please. You see, what I want to know is why this King of Cups is being here, and why the decisions that you are making from this place aren't necessarily quite as stable, based in reality, maybe, as they could be. And the cards don't want to tell me. Like, they don't want to tell me what particular decisions you've been making that are affected. But let's see. Okay, right. We've got the Hermit card. We've got the Knight of Swords. And we've got the Two of Wands. Right. We've got the Four of Wands at the bottom of the deck, so we're dealing with things that are more of a nature of home than necessarily work or things like that, right? Four of Wands is where you feel secure and safe and where your creativity can thrive, right? It's a foundational card. It's getting right to the root of you and where your joy lives, where your happiness lives. But the King of Swords with the Hermit card and the Knight of Swords and the Two of Wands. They're all speaking to decisions that are being made off the back of a reality that doesn't quite exist the way that you think it does. Right? Your internal space is clouded for some reason, and we don't know why. And there's something, I would imagine, there's something that you can feel that's slightly off about this situation, but it's not being quite sure what it is. There's something very Neptunian about what's going on here, has been going on for you here. Wonder if there's, things that other people are saying to you. Looking at that Knight of Swords there, where you're not entirely sure of the veracity of what is being spoken to you, quite literally. We've got this princess type here leaning over the castle wall, looking at all of this oncoming stuff. Storm coming. But what it is doesn't seem to have... It's like there's loads of disparate bits of information, and what hasn't happened is a way for you to stitch them all together. So we come into your current energy and we have the Strength card. Now, this is a beautiful card. It does speak to personal reserves of strength that you had. It is quite literally a comment on how strong you are. But, and I say but because we've got this then mirrored directly underneath in its inverse presentation, it can also speak to reserves of strength that you are being called to act on, act with in the here and now, because I've worded that very badly. Let me rewind. A situation that is challenging, that calls you to pull on those reserves of strength that you have, right? The Strength card showing up sometimes is a very testing card, and the testing bit of it is trying to pull together with other people to create something. It makes me feel like perhaps you are in the middle of something that you did not anticipate finding yourself in that position of. God, I'm wording very badly today. It's very hard work. What about this Three of Pentacles, please? We've got the Star card, which is Aquarius again, and potentially a little idealistic. And let's have a look. Tell me about the Three of Pentacles, please. Yeah. And we've got the Chariot card in reverse. It does feel like there's a situation that's trying to go off in different directions, and I feel like you're in the middle of it somehow, Libra. And I don't know why. Like, what you want to do is draw on your natural talents and be a harmonious influence on pulling people together, but you are one but of three in the Three of Pentacles. And I think what you're starting to realize is that you have less power in this situation than you hoped that you did. The Star card is hopes, goals, dreams, aspirations, those kinds of things, right? It speaks to a level of connection. And whilst on the face of it, the issue might be that you're having trouble pulling people together to work together, to cooperate and collaborate for a shared goal of some sort of type. The bigger problem here is that this situation is not moving forwards, whether you're involved or not. And the spotlight is being put on where you've taken an idealistic position in the middle of it. Like, it feels like you're coming down to earth with a bit of a bump. Like there's a reality check here for you, Libra. Cancer. I don't even know why I said Cancer. It's because it's Chariot card. Tell me about this Strength card here. It's almost like, yeah, I've got the Eight of Swords showing up in reverse here. The road to hell is paved with good intentions and all of that. And I think you've got good intentions aplenty. And I don't think there's necessarily any bad intentions with the people that are around you. But there is definitely a sense that something is not moving forwards. It's hit a wall. And where you think everybody should be able to just work together, they're not doing that. Now, you could make this situation all about everybody else and about how they're not cooperating with each other. But like I said, the light seems to be swiveling towards you to say, where were you idealistic in the extreme to think that this could be resolved in the way that you would like it to be? We've got the Death card at the bottom of the deck that speaks to transformation for sure, but I like the fact that in this card we've got what seems to be a mirror image. There's a certain symmetry to this card. There's somebody's looking at themselves. You know, when I do these readings, I'm a little less interested in who is around, more than I am, what is this situation telling you? What is this situation holding up a mirror to you to show you in the moment? Right, yes, you might be an actor in somebody else's play at this particular point from a karmic perspective, but there's going to be a reason why you're involved in the first place, and that reason is always to look at what it is that you did not see before. Because like I said, we've got this kind of reference back to maybe it's not a situation that you've exactly been in before, but certainly a pattern of behaviour that you recognise within other people, but maybe also in yourself. So we're reading the book of our lives, as I like to think that this is what this person is doing here. And rather than focusing on the swords, we're kind of trying to look past the swords, past the pain, past the hurt, past the ouch, this hurt last time it happened, and see what the truth is that is scribed on this particular book for us, right? Eight of Swords in reverse is about losing the mental restriction. Where have you been very narrow-minded? Narrow-minded, is that the right word? It's not the right word. Narrow-focused on the situation that you're in. Where have you been a bit idealistic? Where have you been a little bit Neptunian about what this all involves? Because where you are right now is testing you. But it's testing you. Not because you need to resolve the situation in front of you, but because there's some analysis of how you've ended up in this position in the first place. And what is that trying to teach you? Because there's definitely a hearkening back to something that has happened before here. You know, the Eight of Cups is showing up. And whenever the Eight of Cups shows up in a situation where we are hearkening back to something in the past, it's because at a past point we didn't learn a lesson. So we go back to it, we revisit it, we get it this time, and then we can emotionally leave it behind. You know, we've got the Page of Swords, information. We've got the Emperor, and we've got the Eight of Cups. Again, doubling down on this energy, right? There's a big move for you emotionally this month, but the important bit is in how you process the information that has been at your disposal the whole time and you haven't really had an opportunity to put together. Page of Swords talks about mental expansion to me quite often, and that can happen by way of just connecting the dots between bits of information that you already have. And the Emperor, talking about getting your shit together and all that sort of stuff, as the Emperor does speak to me about. It's about planning and strategy and what's going to happen in the future. It's about being an authority often. I mean, for some of you, it might be the realization that you've been bossed around by somebody quite hard. To put it mildly, bossed around, but potentially controlled. And the question is, how has this occurred? And why is it being allowed to continue? Tell me about this Emperor card. Right. There's the Judgment card. So the card that's just dropped out of the deck, I shall tell you, is the Five of Wands, and it has literally wedged itself end to end on the on my chair and the table. I'm just going to pop that there for a second, right? Conflict. but internal conflict, possibly, that is seeing its expression outside of you, either potentially with a Taurus or a Capricorn or an Aries. The signs I don't feel are really important. What we've got here, though, is a shaking around of the status quo somewhat. Or maybe a kind of forceful enforcing of the status quo. Because what the Emperor likes and what the Hierophant like is order. One would assume that the Queen of Pentacles also likes a degree of order because she represents Capricorn. But this Judgment card is either a reference to the past and the order and the control of the past, which has been unyielding and rigid and affecting you in a negative way. Or it's a decision to come to protect yourself, to invest in yourself and move away from a situation that is literally just in a cycle of repetition again and again and again. Because you always end up in this conflicted state where everybody needs something from you. And no matter how much you try, how hard you invest, at least for one person around you, it's never quite enough. We've got the World card at the bottom of the deck, which is interesting because she always talks about the closing out of a cycle. You've got a fair amount of major arcana on the table, which suggests to me that there's a boom, boom, boom kind of energy to the insights that you're getting over the course of January. And not all of them, I think, are terribly comfortable. But a change is called for with this Judgment card. Whether this is calling upon your judgment of a situation or whether it is judging the decisions of other people involved in the situation and saying, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to be involved in this. Now, for some of you, it might be a realization that you're just a little bit too close to a situation and that that's not a healthy place for you to be. The Eight of Cups says, no matter what happens, you are putting something down and moving away from it this month. Whether it's a person, whether it's a situation. But the clarity that is missing over here is on its way in with the Eight of Swords in reverse and the Page of Swords in the upright. And it may fall to you to create the order in this situation or to kick back, which I think is possibly more likely, kick back against the order and the control of this situation. Because there's we've got another card that's kind of symmetrical, that's got a woman looking at her reflection, as we saw in the Death card there. Orientation's different, but the imagery is the same. It looks like it's an act of self-care to walk away from something that is trying to control you. Whether this is, and like I've been talking about this in terms of people, but honestly, the Emperor card and the Hierophant could both easily represent employers, people in authority, people whose opinion you might have been invested in the past, but as an act of self-care, you're like, nah, I'm moving away from this. I'm not being involved in this anymore because I can see how I am giving away my power. Like, this return to sovereignty is really strong here, but it's by way of rejecting something that has always been. and understanding why it is that you've been so invested in that being that way the whole time, and how you are different now, and so that doesn't apply. This is really interesting. This is quite a complex energy, Libra. So I'm going to go to the extended now, because I've been waffling on for a little while. And I think what I want to do is actually kind of look at this situation from a different perspective and see what it is that you need to know about this. So if you'd like to join me, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Vimeo, you can do that on Circle. If that doesn't appeal, no shade, that's absolutely fine. Just be aware that there's a lot of moving parts to what's happening here. And the biggest issue is that you haven't quite made all the connections between all the pieces of information yet. And so there's a false sense of security that you've been operating with that's probably about to get rug pulled from underneath you. But that's okay, because it's taking you somewhere better where you do more clearly understand what is happening with you. So, yes, know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.